My Google Chrome decided to slow down. Am I loud enough? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm still like freaked out because I didn't have my microphone plugged in, so I feel like I'm doing something wrong now. Okay, we're good now. Um, everybody recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Beth?
And Brian.
So, to start things off, we kind of had a very slow news week. um, so let's just dive right into that, and then we'll hit it off with our main topic. So first thing up on our news list this week is that Disney is releasing a limited release designer ears coming to the Disney parks and the Shop Disney app, designed by celebrities, Imagineers, and more. It looks like right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of ears, and they're going to be continuing through summer 2020. Do you guys have any thoughts on these ears?
I'm not a big ear person, so.
Yeah, me either. I'm very
What?
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
You don't want the like crystal encrusted one?
No, and especially when I see the prices when they come out, that's probably going to deter me even more. But like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of cool to see the designs though when they come out, and it does look like they're offering not just like the ear headband type ones, but also like hats. So who knows? Maybe I will end up picking up a pair.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's definitely not for me. I'm not the target audience for this by any means. So I feel like I don't really have room to speak on it. But the fact that they're talking about introducing designs by Imagineers such as Kim Irvine, Kevin Rafferty, and Joe Rohde, like those are all kind of interesting, and I want to see what they're gonna do with them. But for now, I think I'm good on the ears.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the designs, but I probably won't actually buy any either.
The Steamboat Willie Walt Disney one is kind of cute, but that one I think is as far as I'll go. Even the Tiki Room one is like okay, but
yeah, a lot of it is not that I don't think that some of the designs are cool. It's just that I have so much stuff that I can't start collecting another thing, especially not something of this size.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. So speaking of, I'm going backwards or all over the place here. Sorry about that. But speaking of merchandise, it looks like they have finally put out the Illuminations Farewell merchandise that will be debuting June 17th. So far, it looks like we're getting a Figment style T-shirt, a Mickey T-shirt, a baseball cap, Magic Band, standard stuff that you would expect for this kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of any of these designs.
Yeah, me either, really. Although I feel like you can't really see some of them super well because I guess it was a sneak peek, or am I looking at like low quality images?
No, I think it was a sneak peek. I don't know if they actually put all the images out.
Yeah, the stuff that you can see really well, I'm not a huge fan of, but I'll be interested to see like a closer picture of the Magic Band design and maybe some of the other stuff that they come out with if they do.
Yeah, the pin is probably the only one that I would really be like holding out for.
I don't hate the Mickey T-shirt either, but I feel like that's just standard park design. Like there's not really anything special about that says Illuminations to me.
Except that he's blowing out the torch, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But it's too, I don't know, it's too lighthearted for a farewell thing, I think. The whole aesthetic of it.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, I remember when Wishes was going away and they were doing the merchandise for that, all of that was like, it was very standard Wishes. Like, they didn't try to do anything special with it. So it's weird now that they're coming out with this stuff and like actually pushing for I guess the people that are really gonna miss it, they want them to buy that merchandise. But
Yeah.
the style of it doesn't say Illuminations to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like they could have been more creative. Like, there's not like any sort of slogan or anything. It's just like farewell. Like, I feel like specifically the one that comes to mind that I thought was really cute was when the Great Movie Ride closed and all the merchandise said that's a wrap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good way to send it out.
I wonder if this is like an in between of that, where it's like it's kind of the like lower tier level of like buy this Illuminations merch and the goodbye that they gave the Great Movie Ride. I wonder if it's like falls in between there, and they're just kind of were like, oh, we got to put something out because it's going away soon.
Maybe.
They
don't
seem
know.
to be doing a lot of stuff last minute, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh boy. And then finally on our news this week, it looks like Disney has officially announced a new signature dining restaurant coming to Epcot. Takumi Tea, which Disney announced will be coming this summer and even release some concept art of. It's interesting.
I feel like of all the pavilions, Japan, I know that this isn't like new news that they're adding a restaurant, just that they kind of have showed concept art and the name and stuff, but I just still feel like of all the pavilions at Epcot, like Japan is the one that needed a table service restaurant the least.
Yeah, so this is not replacing any existing one. This is going to be a completely new one.
Yeah,
Yep.
in a pavilion that already has 2 table service restaurants.
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
Yeah,
But-
and they have the quick service too. So like it's 3
Mhm.
restaurants, 4
Yeah.
restaurants now. Wow.
You got plenty of places to eat in Japan, I guess. I mean, that's a lot of people's favorite pavilion, so I guess it kind of makes sense, but I don't know.
What's really weird about this, looking at the other press release that's linked in the article that we have in the show notes, and apparently it's owned and operated by Mitsukoshi USA, which is the same place that operates the merchandise store and both of the restaurants upstairs in that building. And the kiosks too. So they're like taking over the Japan pavilion.
I was about to say, it sounds like some cahoots are going on here.
Yeah. So I guess all that said, are we ready to dive into our topic for this week?
Think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about the history of nighttime entertainment in the Magic Kingdom. This kind of started as like, let's do the history of nighttime entertainment, and then I realized there was a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're going to narrow it in and talk about the Magic Kingdom and a little bit of Disneyland this week. Yeah, so I guess first thing that we should start with, we could talk about fireworks shows first, because I have that up here on the list first and foremost.
Well, I think when you say nighttime entertainment at Disney, the first thing that pops into people's heads is fireworks.
Definitely.
Yeah. Which is funny, because like I was looking at this and there were a lot of things that I learned about other forms of nighttime entertainment, and I was like, fireworks was definitely my go-to. Yeah, so first thing that we've got on here is the fireworks show Fantasy in the Sky. We're going to go through all of these in kind of the order that they were released and talk about some of the details and stuff about them. And yeah, it's going to be a fun little history ride. But this one opened in Disneyland in 1958 as a response to guests not staying late in the parks. Walt had requested that a show be set against the backdrop of Sleeping Beauty Castle, and that was where they ended up starting this fireworks show. It was originally performed by cast members having to manually launch hand flares, and there was no like operating system for it like we have today.
Oh, how far we've come.
Yeah, this is super crazy to me that they were like, oh yeah, let's do a fireworks show, and then they just bought a whole bunch of fireworks and did it. Like it was, it had music and everything. It was set to all that, but it was just more. It wasn't as high tech as I guess I would have imagined, even though this is like 58. the show was extremely popular and ended up being so like important to Disney's nighttime experience. When they decided to open the Magic Kingdom in Florida, it was an automatic response to open this there as well, and that's the first form of nighttime entertainment that we see in the Magic Kingdom. Um, so when they brought it over, they decided that they were going to have to do this show with a larger budget, and obviously they have a lot more room to work with. Um, since Cinderella Castle is almost 3 times the size of Sleeping Beauty, so this ended up actually becoming a bigger show when they moved it over here in comparison, and that was when they started to like actually really put a lot more thought into it. The soundtrack has changed over the years, and you can still see this show today. This is the one that they do on New Year's Eve, so it's still running. Uh, but the original soundtrack featured a lot of movie favorites like Hi Ho, the Mickey Mouse March, Bippity Boppity Boo, Whistle While You Work, and You Can Fly. So those are still actually some of those are still part of the show today. Um, but around its 32-ish year mark, 30-year mark, fans started to dwindle from watching the performance as imagined because, you know, it's been around for so long. Disney decided that they needed to kind of mix things up, and it was discontinued in early 2000. Oh, I might have to redo that because I think I read that wrong. Okay, yeah, no, it was set to be discontinued in the early 2000s, and they were going to introduce a new show to celebrate Disneyland's 45th anniversary. It was replaced by Disneyland's Believe There's Magic in the Stars, which many guests ended up actually forming a sentimental attachment to because it had an original score, and they were introducing like a Christmas time show for Believe called Believe in the Holiday Magic, and they knew that this was going to have to be something that they were going to have to duplicate over in Walt Disney World. So in 2003, they retired the Fantasy in the Sky from daily use at Walt Disney World. Um, and we got a new show on October 9th, 2003. So I'm not going to touch on that one yet, but I found a list of the changes that were made after it was discontinued for like the holiday uses if you want to take a look at that because there's some interesting things on here. Like 2004, they updated the holiday version because they were still running it around Halloween, and it added pyrotechnics. 2005, more pyrotechnics were added. 2007, fireworks were completely changed, so the loadout and the systems that they used were moved around and a little bit different. There was no change from 2008 to 2014. 2015, they added the use of the searchlights, like the ones that they use in the projection shows. 2016, they removed them, and then they added them again.
That was short
2007. Yeah, I looked at that. I was like, okay, they were there for a year, they were gone the next year, and then they were added back again. And then 2018, they started to illuminate the castle spires, and 2019, the loadout was refurbished again for to add more fireworks to the finale. So yeah, that was Fantasy in the Sky, and like I said, you can still see that one today if you go to like New Year's Eve and all of the other like special ticketed events. They'll still run this show.
I've never seen this, at least not to my knowledge, but it's pretty cool that they kept it around as a throwback all these years later.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I was really surprised about because I started to read this and I was like, okay, in 2003 they discontinued it and I know what comes next. And then I looked at it, I was like, wait, but this says that they still do it on New Year's Eve, and this is the one they run every New Year's Eve. And then like going further down that rabbit hole, apparently there's like sometimes that they'll do it for like hard ticket events and like throwback nights and stuff like that, where they'll just bring it out one more time. I guess that's kind of the cool thing about these shows is they could really swap them in and out if they need to.
Yeah.
So following Disneyland's Believe example, Walt Disney Creative Entertainment created a new show for Walt Disney World with the intention of creating the same emotional response that their guests got in the Disneyland show. The result was a 12-minute and 26-second show hosted by Jiminy Cricket and the Blue Fairy, revolving around wishes of famous Disney characters called Wishes. Um, Wishes featured 683 fireworks during 557 fireworks cues and castle lighting effects. Ah, Wishes.
Oh, I know.
This made me really sad going through this because I realized how much I do actually miss this show.
It
Um,
Yeah, it will forever be the pinnacle of Disney fireworks shows for me.
oh, absolutely. So, funny thing or fun fact about this: while most of the characters are actually um, heard off screen, like you don't actually see any of the characters or anything, you do see Tinkerbell because she flies down from the tallest spire of Cinderella's castle. I found videos of her doing it during um, the Fantasy in the Sky, but I'm not 100% sure if that was part of the initial run of that or if that was like something they opted in for later. But they
Hmm.
use that effect in like every show now. But yeah, so this show ended up seeing the same kind of treatment that the previous one did, where it got special iterations for like the ticketed events, so Hollow Wishes and Holiday Wishes, both premiering at the Christmas parties. And funny enough, there were actually smaller shows that were swapped in and out during Wish's lifetime that I don't know if I even knew about till now. But there was Magic Music and Mayhem for Mickey's Pirates and Princess Party, which was a hard ticketed event. Disney's Celebrate America, which is the July 4th fireworks that they have run since 2008. Summer Night-tastic, which is a like summer version of Magic Music Mayhem that actually will tie into something else later too, and of course the Fantasy in the Sky during New Year's Eve. So yeah, they apparently swapped that out a lot, and I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then finally, some fun facts on Wishes before we end up bouncing off of this. Um, Wishes featured some new fireworks locations, like launching locations that would illuminate around Cinderella's castle, plus pyrotechnic effects that had never been seen before in a Disney park show. And they developed a couple of those, especially for that show. The one effect that I could actually find a statistic on was that the show's wishing star crest goes approximately 100 feet above the castles. So that's kind of cool. I didn't know that they had measured that out.
Hmm.
Yeah. So fun facts there. And unfortunately, as we all know, Wishes ended up leaving us on May 12th, 2007. But before we get to that, there's some other stuff that I want to talk about in terms of nighttime entertainment that really kind of make a little more sense of why we've headed to where we've headed with Disney's nighttime entertainment. Um, and those specifically are the projection shows. I don't know if you guys have really cared much about these, have you?
Yeah, I mean, I like them. I remember seeing, I guess the first time I saw one of the projection shows at the parks, um, the technology just kind of blew my mind. So while I'm a fan of these, I feel like they rely too heavily upon projection mapping now. But
Yeah,
anyway,
they get kind of
hot
lost.
take.
No, I think that's actually pretty valid. Like they get kind of lost in the rest of the nighttime entertainment. Um, but the first one that popped up was the Magic, the Memories, and You, which premiered January 18th, 2011. This was a nighttime entertainment show that premiered at Disney World and Disneyland, on Cinderella's Castle in Disney World, and It's a Small World in Disneyland. The show itself featured photographs and videos from park guests taken throughout the day by PhotoPass photographers and combined the projections with Disney character animations, and it was set to pre-selected music. It was part of the Let the Memories Begin campaign in 2011, which I thought that was kind of cool that they used actual guest photos on the castle.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah.
neat concept.
Yeah, definitely. I wish they still did something similar. Like, it's always cool to be like, it happens, I'm sure, to thousands and thousands of people over the run of this show, but like on that day, those people watching that show, seeing themselves on the castle, like that's a, pardon the, cliche, but that's a magical moment that you can't replace. Like, that's really cool.
That is. And especially with as much as they've been pushing like new photo pass opportunities and everything, I'm surprised they're not doing something like this now.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. So like if I put video links to all of these in our show notes, and I'll put them in the actual podcast show notes too. The way that they did it was really cool because they would flash different photos on the castle, and then they'd like change as the music went on, and characters would do like little short sketches between, like they would play almost like the little Mickey Mouse clips, just short things. They'd play a bunch of them around it, and it was just a really cool thing. And like you said, it's a magical experience to just see your photo and be a part of the nighttime entertainment. But this would only last about a year, and it would end on September 3rd, 2012, to make way for Celebrate the Magic, which I have a lot of nostalgia for, and I
Oh my
found that
God, I
out when I
love
started listening to
Celebrate the
the soundtrack.
Magic.
Oh, it's so good. But
Song though.
yeah, I started watching the video for this while I was like researching some of this stuff, and as soon as the song came on, I was like, "Oh no, this is what it is." Uh, in the best way possible, though, because I
Right.
love Celebrate the Magic. But November 12th, 2016, Celebrate the Magic premieres before Wishes, and it's a similar style to The Magic, the Memories, and You. However, it replaced guest photographs with short segments of Disney films. The show would open with a song similarly named to the show, and would play through different little shorts. It would open with a photograph of Walt Disney sketching Mickey, um, which would turn into the iconic Steamboat Willie scene, and then progress through Disney classic films. And it has the whole "I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started with a mouse" quote in there, and that gets me every time.
Such a good quote.
This show, like I'm still kind of upset that this went away. It's such like a little hidden treasure thing that I'm kind of bummed that this is gone. But the show would climax with a whole bunch of characters and it montaging together through various Disney films. This was probably the biggest one. Like The Magic, the Memories, and You is cool because it had the projections on the castle, but this one really kind of pushed that to projection mapping to the castle, because this was the one that had the Wreck-It Ralph scene in it, where it would turn into the building and he would break holes in the castle, and then they'd turn it into Elsa's castle and they'd do the Let It Go segment. um yeah, this was a big one, I think, for the time. But this would end its run on November 3rd, 2016, which would make way for the show that's currently there, Once Upon a Time. So on in October 2013, Tokyo Disney Resort would announce that Once Upon a Time, a new nighttime entertainment um, show, would premiere in their parks on May 29th, 2014. The nighttime entertainment would use projection mapping technology to produce a three-dimensional effect by projecting images in a way that would fit the contours of the building and the other structures. This would be the first time that this technology would be used in the overseas parks. And it was later announced that this same show would be coming to Walt Disney World in October 26, 2016, and it would replace Celebrate the Magic, which at this point had been um, gone, or was on its way out. So the show is hosted by Mrs. Potts, and it's set up that she's telling bedtime stories to Chip, and it would go through similar sequences that Celebrate the Magic would, where through those stories the castle changes and it takes different shapes, and it would projection map itself to the actual castle. The Magic Kingdom version does have some differences from the Tokyo Disneyland version because they don't use fire in our show. There's no fireworks because this is set. It was before Wishes. Now it's after Happily Ever After, I believe. And they don't use the searchlight. So this is more or less the stripped down version of the Tokyo Disneyland version. And it also is cut down from theirs, which means it excludes the Snow White scene and the Tangled scene and replaces them with the Frozen scene. So
Now, Celebrate the Magic, didn't it used to come on before Wishes?
yeah, so Celebrate the
But
Magic
now
did.
this show comes on after Happily Ever After, correct?
I think so, because the last time we were there, I don't remember it coming on before Happily Ever After. I think now Once Upon a Time comes on right before they shut down the park.
I think so too, because I don't know if I've seen it yet, but I've seen Happily Ever After, and I feel like I would have seen it if it was before, but that I probably walked away immediately after Happily Ever After ended.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time is kind of cute. Like, it's kind of what you'd expect from reading the description, that it's Mrs. Potts telling Chip stories and it plays out like the scenes of the movies. Yeah, I don't think that this is one that I would absolutely stop for, because it's not, especially after Happily Ever After. Like, Happily Ever After sets that bar pretty high for projection shows. But all of that said, that moves us back into fireworks, because with all of this technology, we ended up getting our show that we have now, which is Happily Ever After. Happily Ever After debuted on May 12th, 2017, and it took a lot of those elements from the projection mapping shows and borrowed the elements from Once Upon a Time that Tokyo Disneyland had and introduced them into a brand new show that would feature fireworks, projection mapping, lasers, and searchlights. Now, funny thing about this is that unlike its the previous fireworks show, the score to this isn't totally original. Now, I think we've talked about this on the show, and I've mentioned a few times that the beginning song may be an original piece. Apparently, it's not. The intro song is actually borrowed from a Tokyo Disneyland or Hong Kong Disneyland show called Mickey and the Wondrous Book, and it uses the same exact theme, but it's only the only difference with this in the show is that the show follows up with like a compilation of Disney songs after, which we should take a pause and you guys should go listen to like the first couple seconds of this show, because it's totally the same exact song.
I just find it interesting that the whole purpose at the beginning, like you had said, was that they wanted an original score to have guests develop like that emotional attachment to it.
Yep.
Like not to this show, but to, I guess, what, Fantasy in the Sky?
Yeah, well, it was
Or
Wishes would have been the one that they wanted the original score for.
oh, I thought there was one at Disneyland.
Oh, that was Believe in the Magic.
Oh, Believe There's
Yeah.
Magic in the Stars. Yes.
Yeah,
So I think it's interesting that they realize, like, oh, people have an emotional attachment to this song because this is the literal only thing they associate it with. And
Yeah.
then they did that with Wishes, and the same exact thing happened where, like, people like us get emotional just hearing the beginning of Wishes, and then they didn't do that with Happily Ever After.
Well, that's the weird thing. I mean, like, I guess it's kind of knowing your audience and knowing that pretty much the general day-to-day guest is not going to know that this is from a Hong Kong Disneyland show. But I read that online when I was researching for this. I was like, there's no way. And it's literally the first thing in the stage show. And now I just like can't unhear it.
It's weird. Odd
Yeah.
route to go.
Yeah, and I think that goes with a lot of like what we've talked about before with where the parks are in the current state of the parks. Like, I love Happily Ever After, and I think that if anything was going to replace Wishes, this was a worthy like predecessor to it. But I think knowing this maybe took a little bit of that away from me. But the show itself features 8 segments with their own narrative and musical themes, kind of tying all of these songs together. The themes are the opening narration and the theme song, dreams, journey, friendship, love, adversary, triumph, and then the finale section. Um, Unlike Wishes, which could be viewed from pretty much anywhere in the park, this is best viewed in front of the castle, as you'll likely miss a large portion of this show because it relies so much on projection mapping.
See, I still have not seen Happily Ever After, but that was always a like really sad point for me because I mean, not even in the parks, but even certain areas outside of the parks, like the Polynesian and stuff, you'd be able to really watch the show, and now you don't have that anymore.
Yeah. That's the thing that kind of stinks about this. Like I've kind of caught parts of it from different parts of the park, and it definitely loses something from not seeing it right in front of the castle. I mean, kind of like not to compare the two because Wishes and Happily Ever feel like almost two separate entities at this point. Like Wishes, you could really see it because it didn't rely so much on the castle. Everything was up, and you got the nice bonus touch from like having the lights on the castle. But this is like the fireworks almost seen secondary to the projections.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And like the projection mapping technology is pretty cool, but you know, it's the fireworks should be the main point of the show.
Yeah. Especially because Once Upon a Time still runs. That's the thing that always gets me is like if Once Upon a Time wasn't still there, I feel like then maybe it would make more sense to have just to have both of them in one show. Whereas like
Yeah.
they kind of are capitalizing on how easy it is to use the projection mapping software. So if you guys don't have anything else to say about fireworks, we can move on to the last segment of nighttime entertainment in the Magic Kingdom.
Well, I guess I just wanted to point out that I can't remember which show it is at Disneyland, but I want to say it was maybe the Pixar one, but they have a projection show at either California Adventure or Disneyland that you can see from multiple parts of the park because they put it on multiple surfaces. And I feel like that would be a really easy way to fix the fact that you can only really watch Happily Ever After from in front of the castle. I don't know where the ideal spot would be, but they could totally make it work.
Doesn't theirs run all up and down Main Street?
You know, I am truly terrible and was running on an hour and a half of sleep, so I did not stay late enough to watch. But I'll do it next time and let you guys know.
I want to say, yeah, so it's there's Disneyland Forever, which runs all up and down their Main Street and it's projections. And I think that'd be cool because it covers a large enough surface, but at the same time then it still creates that issue of like you have to see it from one spot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
anyway, let's talk about the next thing.
Okay, so the next category and the last category that we have on here is nighttime parades, and we're going to start things off a little bit differently and talk about an opening day thing. On October 25th, 1971, the Electric Water Pageant premieres on the Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake for Dedication Day at Walt Disney World. And originally, the 14 floats included fireworks, pyrotechnics, and an additional float that launched both of them off behind the actual pageant itself. It's wild that was the thing. Like, just thinking about it now, I feel like the Electric Water Pageant would be so much cooler with fireworks and fire.
I agree. Like I love it. It's probably the biggest nostalgia trip for me in all of Disney World. I just remember like being in the campgrounds and hearing that music play and like literally running down to the water to see it in time.
Aww.
And yeah.
This is
feel like-
actually one I've only really seen in passing. I need to make a point to like actually watch it.
I was just about to say, I feel like this is one that's like that nice little touch as you're leaving the Magic Kingdom if you're not staying in a Magic Kingdom resort. And like when you said hearing that music, I had to think about that because I can't remember actually hearing music with the Electric Water Pageant. Yeah.
I don't know if it's 'cause, like in the campgrounds you can hear it everywhere. So
They gotta pump that in just so you know. Like it's
yeah.
But speaking of music, the initial version of this show featured the song Baroque Hoedown, which was specifically created, this version, the Paul Beaver version, for the Electric Water Pageant and was used from 1971 till 1977, which actually ended up being the same music that Disneyland used in the Main Street Electrical Parade until 1974. Um, Funny enough, we always talk about like which part gets what first. Disneyland didn't have anything like this at all at the time. Um, so what they ended up doing was Card Walker commissioned the development of the Main Street Electrical Parade to compete with the uh, Electric Water Pageant, just to have something similar. And I just realized I jumped ahead a little bit, so we'll go back to the Electric Water Pageant. But Disney melodies were added as additional tracks and to tie in the floats. And some of the floats were repositioned, others were completely changed. In 1972, the year after it had come to light, and it remained the same until 1976. Yeah, that's the rest of that's not super important, so I totally could have just left that out.
The magic of audio editing.
Yeah. So diving into the Main Street Electrical Parade, the initial concept of the parade was supposed to be similar to the water pageant, and with that, the parade's. I just lost my spot. Okay. The parade's design used 500 nickel batteries, which Disney had recently started using, and Italian-made miniature bulbs that the Disneyland staff had seen in lights like along Michigan Avenue in Chicago. Disney had loved the idea of these lights and actually commissioned the Chicago-based company to design the lights for the displays. And 2 months before the deadline that Disney had set for them, they realized that the show was so far behind schedule that the floats had to be moved backstage to Disneyland, where Disney brought welders, electricians, and other temporary staff to complete the show. The staff that Disney brought on would need to assemble the floats, hand tint the light bulbs, and install all 500,000 miniature light bulbs in just a 2 month
my
span.
goodness. I can't believe
Yeah.
they hand tinted all of those light bulbs.
Yeah.
That is got to be the most time consuming part of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 months, too. That's crazy. I don't know how many people they had doing this.
I couldn't find that number. I looked so hard for it because I saw that. I was like, there is no way
That had to be
real.
a small army. I mean, man.
Yeah. So the engineers that actually helped create this parade also helped create the first automated parade show control program. This program allowed the 2,000-foot long parade route to contain multiple radio activated trigger zones, which, I mean, if you've seen a Disney parade, you know all about this. When the parade passes over that trigger zone, you hear the specific music that ties in with the float through the park's audio system. Each zone was between 70 to 100 feet, and the zone system meant that every person watching the parade would experience the same show no matter where they stood along the parade route. And I think that's like just Disney magic right there at its absolute finest.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like nowadays, you'd probably take that for granted, but I mean, back in the day, it's a very interesting piece of technology that made a big difference.
Even now, like I still love that when the Tangled float passes by, the music changes and I know what I'm supposed to be hearing because that float is in front of me. But despite its setbacks, the parade opened on its scheduled date of June 17th, 1972 at Disneyland. Just 5 years later, it would also see its Walt Disney World debut in June 11th, 1977. The parade would last until September 14th, 1991 at the Orlando Park. The floats were then sent over to Disneyland Paris, where it would run until March 23rd, 2003. The Florida show was replaced by the fan favorite Spectrum Magic on October 1st, 1991, as part of the Magic Kingdom's 20th anniversary celebration. And though its initial run ended in 1991, the parade would return later, and a version of the parade would end up actually going to Manhattan for the New York debut of Hercules in 1997. I don't know if you guys have seen anything about this, but this is super, super cool. Disney actually arranged for all of the lights to be turned off on about 8 blocks away from the Broadway theater that it was debuting at, and all the businesses complied, except for Disney's rival studio, Warner Brothers.
Oh man. That's not cool.
Yeah, and it ended up being on a 1-hour promotional program for Hercules and was led by a special float designed specifically for the parade. But the fact that Disney was like, "Hey, we're going to debut this new movie that they don't even really talk that much about anymore. Shut down 8 blocks of street and fly in the Main Street Electrical Parade." Like, that's awesome. I wish that they would do stuff like that today.
Yeah.
Back then they cared.
Yeah. It's funny because, I mean, to plug where I actually heard this about, Rob Plays on YouTube did 2 good videos about this and then the New York premiere of Pocahontas, and both of those were really interesting because it's one of those things where like The Lion King came out and then Disney just kept trying to outdo itself and then realized that they were trying to do too much and had to back down. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely check those videos out. I'll plug both of them in the show notes. But I'm kind of sad that Kirsten's not here to talk about this because she loves Spectrum Magic, and I know we've talked about that a lot with her. But the parade that followed would be Spectrum Magic, which was a 20-minute long nighttime parade featuring scenes from movies such as The Little Mermaid, and it was still at the time, Fantasia, Sleeping Beauty, and a bunch of other characters. It also was known for its Spectrum Men, the clown-like creatures who rode on the floats and on what appeared to be giant disco balls. This parade is so bizarre, and I don't remember seeing this like ever, but I watched a video of it and it was kind of cool. Did you guys?
Yeah,
did either of you see this?
I never saw this in person, and I've seen clips online, and those Spectrum Men, though, I don't know if it's just me but they kind of look like nightmare fuel.
Oh boy. So the show actually demanded roughly just over 65 performers a night. It would feature 45 characters, 14 Spectrum Men, 8 butterflies, and like I said, all totaling in 65 performers. So the parade would tell the story of Mickey and the Spectrum Men who would create the Spectrum Magic and power the float. At the time, this technology was really exciting and new because it made very good use of the fiber optic lighting, and it actually used a waltz time for its music, which is really, really bizarre in parades. The soundtrack to this is actually really, really cool, and I'm kind of disappointed that I've never actually sat down and looked it up until now. But speaking of the soundtrack, the theme was scored by John Debney, who also has composing credits in the 2016 remake of The Jungle Book, Iron Man 2, Chicken Little, and Elf.
It's not a very very good report card he's got there.
You shut your mouth.
I love that you said that to our group chat because okay. But yeah, so Spectrum Magic was a like big fan favorite parade that a lot of Walt Disney World lovers really fondly remembered. And if you go anywhere online to look up anything Spectrum Magic, it's like very widely documented how many people were upset about this show leaving. But around this time, in 1996, we start to see things get a little weird. Main Street Electrical Parade was closed at Disneyland after a 24-year run and replaced by a show called Light Magic, which was immediately a failure and was dubbed Light Tragic by Disneyland viewers.
I mean, that's a terrible name. Like,
Yeah.
what's creative about that?
Nothing. And apparently
Yeah.
the show is really, really bad too. Like, there's not a lot of stuff about it online.
Disney did that on purpose.
Probably because it only lasted a year. So with Light Magic coming around, Disney was like, okay, let's start to get rid of some of the Main Street Electrical Parade stuff, and they started selling off light bulbs that were part of the show to collectors. However, the plan for the parade was to refurbish it, send it over to Walt Disney World for the Millennial Celebration, where it would run from 1999 or May 21st, 1999 to April 1st, 2001, where it was again replaced by Spectrum Magic. So Main Street Electrical comes back, Spectrum Magic leaves for a little bit, and then Spectrum Magic comes back again. Then it was sent back over to Disneyland, which to replace Light Magic because people were so upset about that. However, with Light Magic not doing so well, Main Street Electrical Parade being the same parade that was just over there and a culmination of other things, the parade was actually seeing dwindling crowds when it went back over to Disneyland. And then it was moved over to California Adventure the same year because that was when they were opening that park and they wanted to put something else in there. So instead of being Main Street Electrical Parade, they changed the name to Disney's Electrical Parade due to there not being a Main Street in California Adventure. Now, that's just super bizarre to me. I haven't been to Disneyland, but that feels weird. Can you see there being like a possible parade route in California Adventure, Beth?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a little daytime parade that I kind of walked upon. It wasn't like a major production or anything, but I mean, it looks to me that there could be a pretty clear path.
All right, as long as there's something actually there, because like I heard that and I was like, really, California Adventure? Like all the maps that I've seen don't look like it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks like it. Like I said, I didn't actually see any like real parade or production, but it looks to me like you could.
But Spectrum Magic would return to Walt Disney World on April 2nd, 2001, and would run for another 9 years before ending its run on June 4th, 2010, when Main Street Electrical Parade was announced to be brought back for the Summer Nightastic promotion, which we would see like an intern wishes kind of thing debut in there too. They changed the parade back to Main Street Electrical Parade and brought it back over to Walt Disney World. It was announced to be on an open-ended run where they weren't quite sure where it was gonna go, but they didn't plan for it to be there forever. Yeah. And that led to what is potentially one of the greatest travesties in Disney park history. Fans started to wonder through the run when Spectrum Magic would come back because this parade was so well loved and you know, Disneyland was sitting without a nighttime parade now, so they thought Main Street Electrical Parade would go back and you know, we would need something in the interim, so we're thinking, all right, Spectrum Magic's going to come back. And then in 2013, a forum post popped up on WDW Magic with reports that Spectrum Magic had all of its floats demolished due to some backstage damage. It was rumored that the Chernobog float was still intact, but that's kind of been a long lost thing from now. So Main Street Electrical Parade ended up staying, and Spectrum Magic ended up leaving without a final showing, which disappointed plenty of Disney fans. And as we all know, since Main Street Electrical Parade is not there anymore, it ended its limited run on October 9th, 2016, where it was moved over to Disneyland for a special limited time run. And with the way things are going now, it looks like we're likely to not see a nighttime parade anytime soon.
Which is really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. It's interesting to me that the whole reason that they ended up bringing nighttime entertainment into the parks was to keep people to stay later, and now they won't give us anything because people are doing that anyway.
right. That's where it gets like really weird to me. And part of the reason that I love and hate doing these history things is because like you see stuff like this where you kind of realize what a big shift the Disney company has had in the last couple of years. Like even things like bringing Main Street Electrical Parade back for a limited time run, or flying the float over to one of the other parks just so they can have it for a little bit. That's not stuff they do anymore. I mean, we've talked about on this episode specifically, there's things that they've borrowed from the other shows in the other parks, but at the same time, it's like, all right, what if, what if we actually got a nighttime parade or a nighttime entertainment in Magic Kingdom that's not Happily Ever After or a fireworks show or a projection show? Like, give us something new where the other parks have it, but I feel like they won't do that now. It's just too costly and not the direction that they're headed in.
Yeah, sad to see. Yeah, I think that also goes for a lot of like why they're moving towards the projection technology for the nighttime fireworks parade is that the projections are a lot cheaper to do day after day than fireworks.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, not to end this on like such a negative note, but like reading about the creativity of some of the original stuff, like how Main Street Electrical Parade was the first parade to run on like an automated route with the sound system, and how they wanted to create a emotional pulling soundtrack for the second fireworks shows that they were going to be putting in the US parks. And then now looking at it, it's like I like Happily Ever After, but the fact that the only quote unquote original song is another song from another park that's for another show, and just the fact that it relies so much on projection mapping, like all of that makes me feel a little less for it, and that kind of stinks a little bit.
Yeah.
But so let's end this on a little bit more of a positive note. Um, what are your do you guys have like a nighttime show that you really enjoy at the parks?
Like a current one?
Current, past, present, whatever.
Are we
Oh,
talking just Magic Kingdom?
We
So
can do
that's
all
what
of
this
them.
episode is about?
We can do all of them because the other ones we could probably lump into one show. Like, I don't know. I feel like
I don't know.
maybe
Hollywood Studios has about 16 now, so
on one
that's true.
night.
I don't know. Is there any other ones in the other parks that you guys like? I mean,
Fantasmic is my favorite.
surprise? Not
All
really.
right, no, absolutely not. But I was a really big fan of the Main Street Electrical Parade as well. I was really sad to see that go.
Same here. I think it'll always be my favorite. It's not the most, technologically impressive, but I don't know. It was just so classic Disney in my mind.
Plus, like I said, Fantasmic being my favorite, I'm gonna pick that over everything in every aspect. But aside from that, like Baroque Hoedown is such an iconic song.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Mhm.
can't hear it and it not get stuck in your head.
Yep, it's still stuck in my head, and I researched this like at 5 o'clock today.
I didn't
5
even
hours
listen
ago.
to it. I didn't even listen to it today, but when you said Baroque Hoedown, it immediately started playing in my head and hasn't stopped. It's just so good.
So yeah, here's another fun idea. If you could put a nighttime entertainment in Magic Kingdom now, since we don't have a nighttime parade. And I guess it's fair to say that they're going to swap out Happily Ever After at some point. What would you do, and what would you do to make it that quote unquote classic Disney that we're all so like in love with?
I'm gonna speak for Kirsten here because she's said this several times. I think it's time for us to get Paint the Night.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm kind of confused as to why we haven't.
Right.
I have kind of maybe a bold idea. So let's say we're gonna change out Happily Ever After, keep the projection mapping, but add a couple more fireworks, make it follow a little bit more of a cohesive storyline, and put like a costumed Mickey on the castle. Give us like kind of a nighttime stage show too.
I kind of like that.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's probably dangerous. There's probably some kind of like
It's like
thing with the
Fantasmic
fireworks.
Junior.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm surprised that they haven't, because like even with the projection mapping stuff, it's probably more of a worry that like it's gonna ruin where the projections are, but you just don't map out that one section, like at the bottom of the castle. Just leave it like a bright light and blind Mickey when he goes up there.
I'm sure they can figure out the technology.
Yeah. Or like update the technology for Main Street Electrical Parade. Like the problem that I think with a lot of the nighttime parades is that because of how Happily Ever After is, you corral everyone into the hub instead of like it being a thing where you can see it anywhere. If they could like rope out the parade route, you could do like a mini parade kind of on the like the Move It Shake It parade route, but with like updated Main Street electrical parade technology. That would be kind of cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got for nighttime entertainment history. Is there anything else you guys want to throw in here or talk about or plus up with nighttime entertainment?
I know this isn't relevant to the topic, but I feel like maybe in the news we could have talked about the Disney Legends that had just got announced. I think that you guys were talking about it before I got on the call.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to talk about it now or if you want to pop it back into the news via editing or what. Maybe it could be one of our little side notes thingies that you do. I don't know. I just thought it could be interesting conversation.
Yeah.
We could talk about that for a little bit. I mean, even if I don't edit it into the beginning, it's still worth noting. So let me pull that list up real quick. You know what the exciting thing about this is, since we're going to talk about Disney Legends, this means we're like that much closer to D23.
Exciting.
Like I was thinking about that today. We're like 2 solid months away from D23. Like all that Disney news. We have to do a D23 predictions episode.
Yes, absolutely. Here's our segue though. One of the people that got announced is Barnett Ricci, who was a choreographer, and she choreographed a lot of the parades, including Christmas parades, America on Parade, and the Main Street Electrical Parade.
There we go. Perfect.
So there you go.
So yeah, now we can talk about these before we tie up this week. So it looks like this year we're getting some new inductions to the Disney Legends, which includes 11 talented individuals with the likes of Wing Chow, Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau, James Earl Jones, Bette Midler, Kenny Ortega, Barnett Ricci, Robin Roberts, Diane Sawyer. Who is that? Ming Na Wen?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I butchered that.
No, you said it right.
Okay, cool. And Hans Zimmer. So that's kind of exciting.
I'm kind of surprised that James Earl Jones wasn't already there,
Yeah.
and Bette Midler.
Those are the two on this list that really surprised me.
Because they
also-
weren't already on it, or
Well, that they weren't already on it. Yeah.
yeah.
In the opposite end of that, Kenny Ortega surprises me a lot. I mean, like,
Oh no, I am not surprised by Kenny Ortega. Like all you got, he choreographed High School Musicals, all of them. Like
yeah,
that's
but those were
that right there is enough to earn his spot.
those were years ago. I mean,
Look at Bette Midler. Like
that's true.
James Earl
That's true.
Jones, yes, he's gonna be Mufasa in the new Lion King, but well, I guess he was Star Wars guy too, right?
And the old Lion King, so I mean.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I meant. It's like his stuff was older too. I don't know,
That's fair.
but it's definitely older than High School Musical.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think those maybe even Kenny Ortega. You've kind of swayed me on that. Some of these other ones kind of caught me off guard. I guess it's because like the Disney Legends stuff, you always hear about like the bigger names, but like Robin Roberts and Diane Sawyer, like I guess because ABC, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that Robert Downey Jr. and Ming-Na Wen, like their big tie is Marvel, not really Disney.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's all the same now.
I guess so. You know, I we're gonna have to fight that battle for the rest of our lives, huh?
Yep. Now you got Fox coming in the mix too. That's
Don't
kind of
even
an-
get me started.
well, it's kind of an interesting thing because like the Disney Legends Award is kind of like it's the Disney High Honors thing, and with Disney owning so many properties and so many things now, I wonder like not to take away from some of the people that they're honoring with this award, but it's like I almost wonder how far they're going to open that window.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Because it is. I don't know. I think the Fox thing is going to really throw it for a loop. Because at what point do you get to include those people? Like, I don't think that someone who did a bunch of stuff for Fox and had, like, doesn't do anything for Disney Fox in the future, like, I don't think that qualifies.
Yeah, I agree.
Just like Anastasia is not a Disney princess.
I knew that was going to be the tie-in.
It's out there speaking to a certain person, aka my boyfriend, that keeps antagonizing me about it.
Also, to tie this back in, because I know when we talked about this kind of off air, you said Hans Zimmer hasn't really done anything for Disney. I forgot he did all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Okay, so I definitely take that back then because I did not realize that either.
I looked at this, I was like, oh, that's right, he did do all of those.
I love when
he's
they're throwing all his credits in here and they throw like Cool Runnings in there. Like, okay, that's probably not his crowning achievement, but all right.
Oh,
Wow. Muppet Treasure Island, though.
There we go. All right,
That's
fully
the
on board
crown
now.
jewel.
I
Also, this summer's a reimagining of The Lion King. You guys, they had to find a. That's really why they did it. They're like, we can use this as an advertising opportunity again.
Well, he did the score for The Lion King, like the instrumental score for the original Lion King.
Oh snap!
Which
All right,
is
I
funny
guess
'cause,
he
like,
earned it then.
Yeah, I'm just completely uneducated, so don't listen to me anymore.
it's funny because like with him specifically, he has a very specific style of like movie scores, and even looking at like the big ones for him, you know, the Dark Knight trilogy, Pirates of the Caribbean, like they all kind of feature similar sounding scores, and then you look at this and it's like Muppet Treasure Island, The Lion King, like those are not things I would have expected him to do.
But I guess that shows his talent for him to be able to do like the big imposing scores and then some of the more lighthearted ones.
Yeah. But they will be honoring them at this year's D23 in Anaheim on August 23rd through the 25th. Super exciting. Maybe one year I'll actually go to D23.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's the dream.
Well, maybe they'll send us some media passes this year.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
I'll shoot them an email, and if we're still a thing next year, we'll try to get press passes.
I mean, it honestly, like, it may be easier than you guys think. Because I went to New York Comic Con one year, and my boyfriend has a YouTube channel, and he was able to get a press pass just based on the fact, like, you had to have, like, a certain number of subscribers or whatever, and showed, like, hey, I'm active, and I post things that are relevant to this convention. So, it's worth a real shot one year.
I'm looking it up now because you've got me convinced. Maybe we'll actually be able to get this. Anyway, we'll wrap this show up and then we'll
We'll let you guys know next week if we got it.
The journey to Station 71's media passes.
I'll start a GoFundMe. Get us all out to California. Do you guys watch, or have you watched Tim and Eric? I'm sure we've talked about this before. Tim and Eric's Awesome Show, or Tim and Eric $1 Billion Movie. You know what I'm talking about at all? No?
I know what you're talking about. I haven't in a while.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because Kenny Ortega totally looks like one of their like caricatures on the show.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a little sidebar. You guys should really watch it though, if you like really weird, uncomfortable humor.
It's very much that.
Yeah.
I found their media policy for Walt Disney World.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean, let me see if I can pull that up. Oh, that's gonna send me their email. Public relations courtesy tickets policy is designed for business purposes to give working journalists an opportunity to experience and cover Walt Disney World Resort. Due to the popularity of Walt Disney World Resort during holidays, we will not be able to provide complimentary tickets. Broadcast media. I think that's us.
Sure.
Qualifying positions include the following in these news-related categories. Oh, nope. There's an online media. Print media, broadcast media, online media. Online media counts for bloggers, freelance writers with assignments, and editors affiliated with established news organizations or approved online media affiliate with established social media entity that features travel, lifestyle, and entertainment consumer news. Doesn't say podcasts, but I'm not going to rule that out.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can't find the D23 press credentials thing. Next week is the week that you're not going to be here, right, Beth?
Correct.
Okay, so next week is the
yes, here it is. This is what I was looking for when we were talking about Hans Zimmer. I was like, I know it was something. Apparently, supposedly, read hard air quotes in my room right now, that he composed the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
He did. Okay, yeah, I looked that
up. That shit was phoned in. He did not actually do that. That soundtrack was terrible.
He's credited with a lot of the Spider-Man movies.
Well, some of them are if you're talking about the older ones, I don't think that was him though. I thought that was Danny Elfman. The older ones, the good Spider-Man movies.
I'm actually sorry. I'm totally off because I was looking at the public relations thing. Continue what you were saying because this is going to tie back in a minute.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that's pretty much all I was going to say is, like, when Laz and I went to see that in theaters, we were it's like music by Hans Zimmer. We're like, no, he phoned that in. They're like, can we pay you a bunch of money just to use your name? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not?
So to tie this all back around, the composer for Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 is actually John Debney, who is the person that arranged the music for SpectroMagic.
Wow. See? Good things.
Yeah, and like going to because his IMDb page, I put that in there. If you look at it, he's got the weirdest music credits. Like he was the conductor on The Greatest Showman. He conducted the SpongeBob movie.
Well, I mean, The Greatest Showman's really good, so
Yeah, but it's like he's got one really good credit and then like 7 really weird ones.
yeah.
He conducted The Princess Diaries.
Huh.
Yeah, super, super bizarre.
Why did I think that Danny Elfman was involved?
I think he might have been.
Oh yeah, he totally was one of the composers. He was the composer in the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
And the
he's kinda
second
like
one,
the lead.
apparently. It says, so who was the guy you were just talking about?
John Debney. He's uncredited for a lot of them, but he has
Oh.
on his IMDb page. Composer and additional music score.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Gotcha.
He was the conductor on the Hannah Montana movie too.
Oh, that's an amazing movie. I'm not even kidding, you guys. I don't know if you've seen it. You guys don't really
Nope.
seem like the type that would, but
No, I have not seen it.
it's a good one. What movie? That movie legit like came out like I was already an adult. Like, I mean, I think the whole show when it came out, I was already an adult. It was just one of those things. Okay, no, it came out in 2006. I mean, I was an older teenager, so it was still kind of like I was too old to be watching it, but I did anyway.
I'm like very much on the hunt for this Disney Press Pass thing.
Make
Yeah,
it happen.
It's this weird like gray area that I'm finding that like since D23 is an event at Disneyland, it might have to go through Disneyland's public relations.
It's at the park?
It's near there, but it's because I think it's like Disneyland Convention Center. Let me see. I thought it was like fairly close to. I'm not sure. And now I can't find out where it is.
Oh, question specifically for Brian, although I'm curious about you as well. It's relevant to my trip next weekend. Do you guys do escape rooms?
I have. There's actually one like 2 minutes from me.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I've only done it once, but it was a lot of fun.
Okay, well, as you guys, if you keep up with my social media at all,
I've seen you've been
know
doing them a
that
lot.
I'm obsessed with them. I've literally done 7 in like the past 2 months or 3 months. And I'm trying to convince the people that I'm going on this trip with to do one while we're down there because Orlando has some really good ones apparently.
Nice.
So I was like gonna say if you guys are interested, then you're welcome to join our party.
Oh, sweet.
Because I know like some of the places it's like like Escapology is like a big chain, and
Mhm.
you always get a private room. Like you don't have the chance for like random strangers to join you. But a lot of the ones in Orlando, apparently, if you don't book the entire like room capacity, then random people can join you.
Mm.
So not that that's why I'm inviting you, but it'd be cool to have a ton of people because then that would be a way less chance of like random strangers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I haven't figured out which one yet, but I'm gonna basically force them into it. None of it, like I don't think any of them have ever done one, but they're so fun.
I
They
found
really
the
are.
application.
Oh boy. Put
Say
us
what?
down.
I found the application.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Oh no, you're good.
You're like the escape room queen now.
I mean, I'm trying. I'm definitely like, I mean, yeah, I've done a lot in a like really short period of time, but there are people out there that like blow me out of the water 100%. Like I've been reading up on this website that's like Escape Room Advisor or something like that, and to apply to be one of the reviewers, you have to have done at least 25.
Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah, and I'm like, jeez. But I'm on track to get that done pretty soon. In the next, by the end of the year, probably, if I keep up the way I've been going. And you're an engineer, so
Yeah.
you'd be a good help, I bet.
Well, we like a group from my work went and did one, and yeah, it's a bunch of cocky engineers. So obviously, we did the like highest level one when we did it at the place, and I was like, I don't know. Yeah,
Did you win?
yeah, we did. We got out. It was like a jail escape room type one,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty cool because in ours, we were like locked in the police station. There were 8 of us. So you start out and it's like a small police office, and it had 4 jail cells in it. And so you could see the 2 people across from you, but you couldn't see the jail cell next to you. And you had to like communicate, like the clues to get out of your jail cell were in the other people's cells. So you had to like communicate with them to figure out how to get out of yours, and vice versa. And then once you got out of the actual cells, then you had to find out how to escape the actual like whole police station. So it was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun with it.
Was the place? Do you remember what the place was called?
Geez, I swear, it's like 2 minutes from me. I drive by it every day.
Is it the Escape game?
Let me see.
Is it on? It's not on iDrive, is it?
No. Oh
You guys
no,
live
we're way
in-
away.
You live like an hour away from there, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
on the East Coast.
Because I'd heard of one that's in Orlando, like on iDrive, that is similar, where your like party is split into different cells at the beginning.
Oh, no, the one that we went to, it's called Locked Inside.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's like a big chain or if they're a standalone or what. It looks like it might be a standalone.
Yeah, I like the chain. Like Escapology is the only like real chain that I've been to, and it's nice because it's like really high quality, like Hollywood set type environment, but like also really like the local ones because you can tell that like it was a like a passion project.
Yeah.
And a lot of love went into it.
Yeah, like honestly, when the people this is one of those stupid like fucking team building things that somebody at our work is like, we need to start doing more of those. And I was like, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna do an escape room, and I'm like,
Oh no!
And then it was actually a lot of fun. Like I did not have high hopes going into it, but I really did enjoy it.
I feel like that's a really common like opinion before you do one. Like pretty much everyone that I talk into doing one is like kind of hesitant at first because they have the wrong idea, because they think you're like literally going to be trapped in like a single room.
Yeah.
And like have to just do a bunch of like mind-boggling puzzles and not be able to get out. And like the thing that I love the most is that people think that you're actually locked in. Like there's
Yeah,
not.
they can't do that.
Right,
Yeah.
it's like legally they're not allowed to do that. So I think that part freaks people out a lot. But I'm just like,
Yeah.
they can't lock you in. There's like a button that you can press and you can leave anytime.
Right. Well, that was the funniest thing was like some guys showed up late, so like they had gone over, like we were literally they were like setting the scene up for us, and they kept saying like, "Don't you have one more person?" We're like, "Yeah, he says he's on his way. He says he's on his way." So they're like, "Okay, look, we'll put you in a jail cell. Like, here's the button to push to get out of the whole room." Like, and here's the buttons that you push to get out of your individual jail cells. And they're going over the rules, and the guy like comes around and he's like, sorry, I'm late. Like goes in his jail cell. They shut us in there, and we start. So we all start trying to figure out how to get out. And he like all of a sudden one of the jail cells just opens, and the guy that was late was like, "Oh, holy shit! Look, you just push this button and it opens up." And we're like, "God damn it!" And like slammed the door back on him. Like, no, you're not out yet.
It's not that easy. That's funny. I like that this application is a Google Doc. Yeah, it's a Google form.
What is it really?
Yeah,
and it's the official one too.
Wow, it's kind of a sketchy way to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what we need to do. Like when we decide that this is the year that we want to do it, is we just
I filled it out.
Oh, I was about to.
For this year?
Are we doing this now?
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh.
If we get approved for this, I'm going.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I guess why not?
I mean,
I was just gonna say we would just need to like slam it on our social media, just like be super active and get a bunch of extra followers and stuff.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, I doubt we're gonna get approved for this year, but if we don't, that gives us the next 2 years to really hype up our social media. Because like one of the categories they approved for is like social media. That was an actual thing that was on the list of people they approve. Super, super weird.
Those influencers, I guess, are Disney's little BFFs.
It's probably what it is.
All right, fine, I'll do it too. Can't hurt, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that happens? We get declined.
What is circulation? Is that like how many subscribers or something we'd have?
Oh, that's print only. I just put.
Oh, jeez, I'm not reading.
That's okay. I put online only for ours because I mean, I guess we would count as broadcast.
Yeah.
I would assume qualify as like bloggers.
What did you put for outlet name? Station 71 podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
I like that we're actually seriously doing it.
As our position host.
Yep.
We do have an actual website too.
Mm-hmm.
Kirsten's gonna be like, "Why is this in?"
Got some angry clicking.
Someone really is angry clicking.
It must be Brian.
Oh, I guess it was me.
Well, you use your phone, right?
What? No, I'm using my computer.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought you used your phone for the Hangouts call.
No, I stopped doing that.
Dang, we got all the social medias.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to have like a certain number of people on YouTube to get a thing, right?
Yeah. Here, I'll send the weirdly long channel link name. Maybe we'll get that after our live episode.
I just had to look up how to. First of all, I had to look up how to spell Mario's last name, and I bet you've had that your entire life.
Yeah.
And second of all, instead of Brian Dill, I almost wrote Bill.
Oh shoot! I forgot to put you guys down on that. I just looked at that. I was like, oh no, I think I forgot to fill that out. Bill.
It's
I've
a,
had
short, it's a
multiple-
shortened version of your name.
No, I've had so many people at work do that. Like the first time I've emailed people, and they'd be like, "Hi, Bill," and I'm like, "Bruh, take 2 seconds to look at my damn name."
Is your email address like B Dill?
It's actually Adil. Like my first name's Andrew, but I've always gone by my middle name. So it's actually Adil. So I feel like that's even more reason for people to look and be like, "Hang on, wait a minute."
That just makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
That's really funny. One of my really good friends that I was roommates with in college, his first and middle name are Andrew Bryan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, small world.
All right, I'm gonna hit submit.
All right, and with that, I'm gonna go to bed because it's
Should,
like almost.
oh, I
11
was like, I was about to be like, should we pick a topic for next week that I'm not gonna be here and you already decided the topic?
I'll just
All
have
right.
to remind Kirsten so we can schedule a time for all of us to get on.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, enjoy your week off.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Looking forward to, well, not a week off from work, but whatever. Time off from
Weekend
work
off.
anyway. Yeah.